Well, welcome back to another episode from Tales with Love. Today we're talking about Ocean's 11, the 2001 remake, directed by Steven Soderbergh, based on a story by George Clayton Johnson and Jack Golden Russell, which was in turn turned into a film with a screenplay by Harry Brown, Charles Lederer with the credits, and Ted Griffin. And the costume designer for this film was Jeffery Kurland, and you'll remember him. We talked about his work in Inception, Mission Impossible, Fallout, and Tenet, which we haven't covered. Rotten Tomatoes has Ocean's 11 at 83% with the critics, 80% with the audience. Joining me today to talk about this is special guest Ben Waters, friend of the show, friend in real life. How are we doing today, Ben?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Real good, thanks, Ben. And another great recommendation, I believe, from you. Was Ocean's 11, or was it me? I forget now how these things work. But
I think it was just two great minds think alike. I think we both had the idea at the same time.
Joining of the minds. Whatever comes on Netflix and is free for me to watch,
sure,
often comes up for review. So perhaps before we get into the style of the film, Ben, maybe you can talk about your overall thoughts when you saw it last and your takeaways.
Well, saw it last. We watched it yesterday just to get ready for this, but before that, I'm sure we watched it a couple months ago. It's at least like a once a year sort of viewing for me, and just because it's cool, man. That's the one thing about it. It's just a cool movie. It's just, the movie looks fun. The guys look like they're having fun making it. It's a good heist. I mean, everything about it is just a fun, cool. You just want to be part of the group. You know, it's just fun.
You do. You almost feel a bit left out just watching it.
Yeah, right.
But they have such a great, one thing I picked up throughout the film was that everyone has a really good shorthand with each other, to the point where they don't even really have to answer the question. So like George Clooney's there with Brad Pitt going, "You think we need one more?" And he's just like, he's just got his head on the bar looking at a TV screen. And it's a nice little bit of dialogue where you think we need one more. Okay, we'll get one more. And I guess that's the whole premise, because up to that point they only have 10 minutes.
Right.
Then it becomes the 11. So nice little build up. But that's kind of carried on throughout the film, where everybody is comfortable in their own skin, perhaps with the exception of Don Cheadle and his British accent.
But yeah, I thought it was even clever, even with the amazing the gymnast, where when he would just speak Chinese and they would just instantly know it was. I found that so clever. It's just, there's so many little witty things about it that's just there. And then even the movie's been out, it's 20 years. So right. Even 20 years later, you're still picking up or appreciating even little things here and there of just how good that chemistry, or how good the timing on everything is, or just the writing, the visuals.
Yeah. So everything is super slick. Everything looks silvery, blacky slick, in terms of like George is always wearing the tuxedos. I felt like Brad Pitt's palette was kind of always this kind of shark screen gray and maybe some stone colors. I picked some stuff up off the web. I hope you don't mind me just reeling it off.
No.
Jeffery Kurland the costume designer said he spoke to the director, and the director Soderbergh said he wanted the suits to sparkle. He wanted the characters to sparkle. And so what Kurland wanted to do was have like a George Clooney be the pyramid, the tip of the spear, and then from him everything has to trickle down. So, and that kind of made sense when I went back and watched it, was that George Clooney didn't really have this extra flamboyance. Like, he didn't have the Brad Pitt's flowery shirts or the kind of, there was nothing gaudy. It was very simple. It was very classic.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of it was just kind of like, no tie tuxedo looks. So you have that staple and that mainstay right in the center, and then everything else can kind of almost gravitate around it. I don't know, did you pick up any of that?
Oh yeah, it's one of the reasons I appreciate it is how well balanced it is, because Clooney is that pivot point for everything, but everybody else feels balanced. Nobody feels like it's shortchanged or you didn't get enough of the story. But yeah, Clooney does, and kind of what the whole shtick of what I do on my Instagram thing is that he does the basics exceptionally well, and there's nothing gaudy, there's nothing flamboyant. It's the fundamental basics of style, but to perfection, and that's what I really love about it. His style in particular, it's cool that everybody else does, and there's a variation, and as they go out from the group, that variation gets bigger and bigger. So yeah, Rusty, Brad Pitt he's suited up, but there's a little bit more flamboyance, a little bit more sheen. You know, the French cuffs that are undone, sticking out, and little stuff like that. And then you get to Scott Conn, who's in overalls and stuff like that as they get farther out, farther out. You know, Saul, who walks out both lines, he has that bespoke suit made, and then he's at the track wearing the Hawaiian shirts and the hat, right? The dog racing track. But so yeah, it's balanced, and it's balanced all around Clooney, and part of what I think is just cool how well it's executed. So not even in the fashion, but then in the movie itself, this is all balanced.
Yeah, nothing kind of interferes or clashes, even though there's a lot of like the ancillary characters, I suppose, do have like the wilder costumes and like the flowery patterns and stuff like that, but they don't kind of, they don't kind of clash or kind of head butts with each other. So
no, it's like a weird puzzle piece all fit together.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And the bit where he's getting tailored, is it Saul that's getting tailored? There's Jeffrey Kurland's actually there, which I learned on IMDb. So that's
I didn't know that.
Design and measure cool. Yeah,
that is cool.
He is nowhere, by the way. If you want to get an interview of Jeffrey Kurland, good luck. Ben, so we touched upon like a lot of the style and a lot of the influences. I'd say George Clooney, yeah, again, perhaps one of the only, it's not even a negative, but I would say there was absolutely no difference in my mind between the character of Danny Ocean and the one that he played in Out of Sight. I forget the character who played in Out of Sight, because it's done with the same director. I think it's almost the same music. It feels like it's always that kind of very slick, lovable road that he plays. I don't feel like George Clooney's doing anything different in this film than he was doing in Out of Sight. I don't
yeah, it's just, I mean, Clooney being Clooney. Even right? It's just go be yourself, George. Just say the lines. Be yourself. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree in the slightest. But I also, at the same time, it also works for me, so I don't really care.
And I think that's what you sign up to, right? I mean,
it's like, oh, I'm gonna go see George be George and see a Soderbergh film, and it's gonna look stylish and it's gonna look pretty, and George is gonna be George, and there's gonna, I think Soderbergh, if we go back to like Out of Sight, wrote a better character in Jennifer Lopez than what's her name got in Ocean's 11, Julia Roberts. She had that movie's not going to pass the Bechdel test, but
I do know what that is, by the way. That makes me a strong feminist. I like it.
We can acknowledge the movie's not going to pass the Bechdel test and still say it was a fun movie. I think we're allowed to say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even know how we got off on this topic there.
Sorry,
but,
no, I went on a tangent.
Oh, George Clooney is the same as Danny Ocean is the same as Out of Sight, and isn't that kind of the trademark of a leading man? If you look at Harrison Ford or Cary Grant or even
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise goes out and tries to do some stuff with range every once in a while, but I mean, Harrison Ford is Harrison Ford, whether it's Han Solo or Indiana Jones. Like, yeah, that's pretty much the same guy. He's went from talking about hyperdrives to the Lost Ark. It's kind of that classic leading man. It's like, that's who you get.
I love Harrison Ford. We just watched the whole Indiana Jones trilogy. We haven't got to the Christmas Skull yet, but
that's okay.
Oh man, yeah, we could go off on some tangents. It's just so much good fun. But the Temple of Doom one, because I always watched the TV show, or the film when it came on TV here, they cut about half of that stuff out, like ripping out the heart, the torture scenes, basically just half of that movie I'd never seen before until the other night when I watched it on Amazon. I was like, this is fucking hardcore, and I love it.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that was quite the little thing when it came out over here. It was vivid memories of, because it was Red Dawn. There are like a couple of movies that gave rise to the PG-13 movie, and there's, if it wasn't Temple of Doom, it was like Red Dawn. But there were a couple of movies that right at the same time that they created that PG-13 rating for it, and parents got all up in arms about it over here. It was some of that early '80s hysteria that It was crazy to be a kid around that time. I still have memories about it.
Yeah, I should get back into Red Dawn. I haven't seen that in a long time. Just have vivid memories of Red Dawn when one of the characters is behind like the fence. I think
Yeah.
it's the dad or something, and Patrick Swayze's on the other side. He's like, go on, be your own man, be your own man. Like, okay, see you later. And then he goes, avenge me. It's like, why they didn't just turn around and go, shut the fuck up, old man. Fucking, like, you're on the perimeter here. We don't want to get caught.
I'm not sure how well that movie's going to hold up in 2021.
I don't know if we have to do a start. Oh yeah, well, because of all the, well, they remade it, didn't they?
They remade it. I have not watched that one. I have not heard good things either.
Oh, I went to see that at the cinema.
Oh, did you?
On a date. Yeah, I've just remembered. Yeah. That didn't go well. Anyway, Anastasia's in the next room. We better do it. Moving on. Lastly, I got to say just about that Ocean's 11. Remember that? what we were talking about?
Yeah.
Andy Garcia's outfits, I actually thought were really interesting because you had this when he's at the fight night. You had him wearing this kind of asymmetrical waistcoat that I'd not actually seen before. Now, I don't know about you, but I actually really dug it. I thought his look throughout the film was
cool. Nothing I would wear for myself, but it was cool. I mean, there were some bold choices. There was nothing like you'd ever seen before. It had some Asian influences and it had some kind of English influences. It was just this mashup of a longer thing, but it wasn't like a Nehru kind of style and the weird that now not weird. I don't want to say funky. They were eclectic maybe, but it was all cool. I mean, it was like nothing. I mean, it is the thing that someone with money and taste and can do whatever they want. It was some bold choices, but it was cool.
Yeah, and so like I mean, I heard that Jeffery Kurland pretty much had everything handmade for this film. So
I'm sure
there was no, and he's typical of doing that. I know he did that for Inception and stuff like that. But who is it that does the tailoring for him? I think it's Kim someone. Oh fuck! I forgot his name. I'll fix that in post. But he goes to a special guy to get these suits done. So there's not like brands that you can tap up and ask how it was done or anything. But it's interesting how you'd have to make him different from George Clooney, because George Clooney being, like we were mentioning before, the center point that everything pivots around. Yet you have Andy Garcia, who is the ultimate tip of the spear because he's got the money as well as the business, as well as the people underneath him. So he has to dress even more kind of outrageously classier than George Clooney does. And so I feel like he did that without having to eclipse him in any way or having to downtread on Clooney's style. So, but yeah, I like Andy Garcia in anything. I'll come watch him.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of my favorite Andy Garcia film. Probably Untouchables or Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, maybe.
Oh, that one's good. I haven't seen that in a while. Untouchables, especially I think the Ocean's 13. Andy Garcia. I think they turned the volume up for that one, and I'm sure we'll get to it eventually. But even on that one in particular, the same clothes he was wearing, but the volume was turned up on that one as well. So he gets more of a role in that one, I think, and it's even just more fun.
We should get into we'll do the sequels because I can remember nothing about them. The only thing I remember about the second one is Bruce Willis turning up and saying Julia Roberts looks a little bit like Julia Roberts.
Yeah, it's weird. The second one is a little awkward. But
it's 13 better?
13's way better. Yeah,
is it?
13's a lot of fun. Everyone agrees 12 had some issues.
Right. Okay.
And, I don't know. It's not bad. There's one aspect about 12 that sort of sets up 13, if I remember right, but it's not necessarily of paramount importance.
We'll have to get to that.
Yeah.
Ben, I'd like to finish on the auction. I couldn't find anything online apart from I think Prop Store had some original Ocean chips and stuff like that, and just various props going around that is available or was available for auction at the time. But if there was anything that came up for auction, what would you buy?
style wise, and early on in the film, I think when they're playing cards, Clooney was in that black turtleneck and the black jacket with big lapels. It just that was
That's nice.
cool. I mean, it's just I think
That's
that was
nice.
for me that was the best outfit he wore in the film.
Where he's got the 4 9s.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
ace is pretty high.
I'm sure I've tried to pull that line off once. Nice. I think I'd have Brad Pitt's shirt at the end when he says, he goes, "Oh, I hope you would
Oh,
agree."
Ted Nugent wants his shirt back.
Ted Nugent wanted his shirt. So I had to Google who Ted Nugent was because that.
Yeah, they Googled it. Oh, that would make for an interesting Google in 2021.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I just came up with a couple of pictures of a guy that looked a bit like Larry Hagman and thought, oh, I get it. But yeah, so that was made by Anto's shirt, I think. So I would probably get Brad Pitt's shirt and maybe do a run of them. But that was good. Oh, I'd probably have like that shirt, but I'd have belongs to Ted Nugent sewn on the inside or something like that, or Ted Nugent's name on the side.
I 100% called that was going to be your shirt too. When we were like, that's going to be Pete's. I 100% knew it was like.
Nice.
That's going to be the thing that Pete wants.
Well, I am nothing but if not predictable.
I know your style, man.
Ben, thanks for coming on. Keep up the great work with In the Closet. The little 10-minute tutorials that you do, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's very much unscripted. It's a great insight. But no, and I don't mean that in any kind of bad way. I love the impromptuness of it and the kind of the tangents you go on, but also you got such a great collection, and you can see it behind you on the YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. So it's great to kind of see these suits in person, see you wear them, and kind of walk us through some of your influences as well. I mean, it's you're known for being into Bond, most notoriously, and Cary Grant. You've spoken about on the show, but lots of other actors, and like it's a lot of fun. I think people should be tuning in. It's Benjamin D. Waters on Instagram if you're not there already, but we'll leave all the links over in the show notes. And,
appreciate it.
And take care of yourself.
Thank you. All right.
Great talking to you.
Take care.